Good afternoon. Welcome to the National Weather Service in Atlanta's weekly webinar for the week of August 8th through the 15th. Here are some of the main highlights we're going to discuss on this briefing. We'll take a look back at Debbie and its impacts across the state. We have some drier air working into the region behind Debbie, and that's going to allow for some below normal rain chances through midweek. There is some tropical development possible in the 7-day outlook. And getting into late next week, northwest flow aloft may increase rain chances the middle to latter part of next week. Taking a look back at the impacts from Debbie over the course of the last several days, you can see on the left the 4-day rainfall totals. The sharp gradient you can see extending from about McDuffie County down through Glasscock, Washington, down into Bleckley, Dodge, Wilcox counties. Everywhere to the east of that line generally received more than 2 inches. That's about the 2-inch line. To the northwest of that, much lighter amounts during the 4-day period that Debbie was impacting the state. The amounts increased significantly as you head to the east. You can see down in Vidalia, Montgomery, and Trutland counties, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain. And then you don't have to go too much further to the east to see the 10 to 15-inch amounts down along the coastline. When we look at the graphic on the right-hand side, this is the max wind analysis, taking into account all of the wind observations we have across the state. And you can see a pretty good swath of 30 to 40 mile-an-hour winds across the southern and eastern part of the state. There are some max wind amounts in there of 40 to 50, splotchy within our county warning area, but more prevalent down closer to the coast and closer to where the landfall was. We have a peak wind of about 60 miles an hour down in the Valdosta region. Jumping into the current weather, you can see the visible satellite imagery on the left-hand side showing the remnants of Debbie still spinning across South Carolina, gradually making its way northward into North Carolina. Radar imagery on the right-hand side where you can see a lot of the rain wrapping around on that back northwest side, and some drier air working in near to the center of the storm as it moves into North Carolina and away from our region. Moving ahead and taking a look at it tomorrow, going into the weekend, you can see a frontal boundary draped across the southeastern part of the state and basically bisecting the state of Georgia. And that's on the backside of Debbie, which you can see up in the Virginia, moving into the mid-Atlantic states during the day tomorrow. This front will be the focus for showers and thunderstorm activity down in the southeast part of the state over the next couple days. However, much drier air will be on the backside, and we can expect little or no rain chances across the northern and northwestern part of the state. Here's a look at the temperatures and rain chances for Friday. You can see middle to upper 90s across a good chunk of the state. Rain chances on the right-hand side, you can see lower end rain chances across the southeastern part of the state where I just showed that frontal boundary will be draped. Drier air will be filtering in from the northwest, and obviously that will reduce the rainfall chances across the northern part of the state. Not a lot of sensible weather is expected over the next week or so. More summertime-like conditions can be expected across a good portion of the state. This is a look at the high temperature forecast for not only the region, but for individual cities across the area. And you can generally see the continued above average temperatures are expected through midweek, with most areas expecting lower to middle 90s for daytime highs, with the exception of the northern Georgia mountains where temperatures in the upper 80s can be expected. Let's put the precip chances into focus here with a focus on the weekend. You can see the precip chances across the region, and that is the state, and generally speaking at lower than normal chances of maybe 10 to 20% chances through midweek. When we focus in on the weekend, you can see on both Saturday and Sunday that chances of rain are highest across the southeastern part of the state, again where that frontal boundary will be draped, and we're not expecting much in the way of precip chances across the northwestern and northern part of the state, again where the air mass will be much drier. Taking a look at the tropical update for day 2, the day 2 outlook, we can see that Debbie is the only game in town on the left-hand graphic, and Debbie will be slowly moving its way into the mid-Atlantic states and out of the picture in the next 48 hours or so. On the right-hand side, however, we'll need to start focusing in on the 7-day, which is expectations of a 30% chance of formation of a tropical storm formation through 7 days in this region of the Atlantic. And some of the computer model guidance is suggestive that in and around day 7, which is about Wednesday or Thursday of next week, we could be dealing with a system somewhere in this broad circle that we'll have to start paying attention to by about the middle part of next week. Here is a look at the forecast rainfall over the next 7 days. And as you can see, with not only the precip chances being lower, obviously the expectation would be that we would be much drier. There's not a lot in the way of precip expected across the north and northwestern part of the state. Precip chances are a little bit higher to the south and southeast, and anywhere of 1/4 of an inch to maybe up to isolated inch in spots can be expected along and south of an Augusta, Macon, Columbus line over the next 7 days. On the right-hand side, you can see the latest version of the drought monitor, which is showing drastic improvements across the state compared to about 3 weeks ago. And that is a result of a very wet July that we had across much of the state. So to recap what we just walked through, we took a look back at Debbie and its impacts across the state. We talked about the drier air moving in on the backside of Debbie and below normal rain chances expected across much of the area through midweek next week. We discussed the tropical development possible, particularly in the latter part of next week, and that is a 30% chance. And a little bit about the northwest flow setting up late next week, which allows us to see an increase in rain chances by the middle to latter part of next week. And that concludes this week's briefing. If you have any specific questions or weather-related information you're seeking, by all means, reach out to us at any one of the following methods you see on your screen.